Blossoms in the Heart. Chapter 1. The Collaboration. Bangkok's skyline shimmered as Iris and Dahlia sat on the rooftop of a luxurious hotel, the air thick with tension from their first meeting. Their eyes met briefly, and both women knew instantly that they were complete opposites. Dahlia was sophisticated and refined, and used to a life of structure and elegance. At the same time, Iris was adventurous and carefree and lived for spontaneity and excitement. Iris leaned back in her chair, glancing around the rooftop. "You always choose the fanciest places, huh?" she muttered, trying to break the ice. Dahlia, barely looking up from her phone, replied coolly, "It's not about fancy. It's about quality." Iris rolled her eyes. "Right, quality. Just don't expect me to sit here sipping champagne all night. That's not really my thing. I didn't ask you to," Dahlia said, her voice clipped. She glanced at Iris, noticing her casual clothes and wild curls that seemed entirely out of place in an upscale setting. "But maybe you could try to appreciate it?" The silence between them stretched awkwardly. It wasn't just the clash of their personalities, but the feeling that they belonged in two worlds. Neither woman imagined that being a travel blogger would lead to being a work partner to each other, filled with barely veiled annoyance and frustrations. "So, why Bangkok?" Iris asked, trying to shift the conversation. Dahlia sighed, clearly unimpressed with the small talk. "Bangkok has always been a haven for people like us," she said. "The LGBTQ+ community thrives here. Did you know it hosts one of the largest pride parades in Southeast Asia?" Iris raised an eyebrow. "You mean people like us? I didn't realize you were part of that community." Dahlia's gaze lingered on Iris for a second longer than necessary. "Does it surprise you?" Iris shrugged, her heart unexpectedly skipping a beat. "Not really, but I don't think we're the same kind of people." "What's that supposed to mean?" Dahlia snapped, her calm demeanor cracking. "I mean, look at us," Iris said with a playful smile. "You're sitting here in designer clothes, probably ordering the most expensive wine on the menu, and I'm in jeans and sneakers, hoping for some street food after this." Dahlia blinked, slightly taken aback by Iris's bluntness. She hadn't expected this level of casual honesty. "Maybe I like nice things," she replied, her voice softening. "And maybe I don't care about that," Iris said. "But I guess it doesn't matter, does it?" Dahlia was about to respond when she paused, realizing that, for the first time, Iris had caught her off guard. She hadn't expected Iris to challenge her like this. Strangely, she respected it. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and the air between them shifted. Neither of them would admit it, but the initial clash of their personalities stirred something deeper. Attraction simmered beneath the surface, unspoken and unnoticed, as they returned to the stunning view of Bangkok's skyline. Bangkok, with its progressive LGBTQ stance and thriving culture, offered them a neutral ground. Neither Iris nor Dahlia was actively seeking anything romantic, especially not with each other. Their differences were too significant, their worlds too far apart, or so they thought. Chapter 2. Something floating in the air. The sun hung low in the sky as Dahlia and Iris arrived at the Damnon Sadak floating market. Boats crisscrossed the canals, vendors shouted prices for fruits and trinkets, and the air smelled of spices, grilled meats, and the river. It was a world away from the refined restaurants and quiet cafes Dahlia usually frequented. Dahlia blinked at the chaos around her, her eyes darting between the colorful boats and the crowds of people. "It's so loud," she muttered, clutching her handbag tighter. Iris, however, was in her element. "That's the point," she said, stepping lightly onto a small boat. "You can't experience real Thailand from luxury hotels, Dahlia. This is where the heart of the culture lives." Dahlia hesitated, unsure of the narrow boat that rocked with the slightest movement. "Are we really going in there?" she asked, gesturing toward the crowded market ahead, her voice filled with uncertainty. Come on, Iris said, offering her hand. You're in Thailand. Live a little? Reluctantly, Dahlia took Iris's hand and climbed into the boat, feeling the warmth of her touch linger. As they pushed off into the busy canal, the boat glided between stalls overflowing with goods, vibrant textiles, exotic fruits, and handmade crafts. Iris pointed to a vendor grilling muping, skewered grilled pork, over an open flame. You have to try this, Iris grinned. The flavors are unreal. Dahlia eyed the vendor skeptically. Street food, really? Iris laughed. Trust me, if you haven't had street food in Thailand, you haven't experienced Thailand. They floated deeper into the market, where Iris spotted another vendor selling durian, the infamous fruit with its pungent odor but rich, creamy taste. She bought a small portion and held it to Dahlia with a playful smirk. I'm not eating that, Dahlia declared, wrinkling her nose. Oh, come on. If you can handle high-end wine, you can handle durian, Iris teased, popping a piece into her mouth and savoring it. It's like custard, but better. Dahlia shook her head, laughing softly. You're impossible. As they drifted through the bustling market, the initial chaos felt less overwhelming to Dahlia and more like an invitation to let go. She watched Iris engage effortlessly with vendors, laughing as she haggled in broken Thai, her carefree spirit infectious. Dahlia couldn't help but admire her. You really love this, don't you? Dahlia asked, her voice softer now. Iris glanced over, her smile genuine. I do. There's so much life here, you know? So much color and energy. You can just be yourself. Dahlia shifted in her seat, her eyes tracing the curve of Iris's face as she spoke. There was something freeing about Iris's ability to embrace the moment without fear. This place, Dahlia started, her voice vulnerable for the first time. It's different from what I imagined. I thought it would be overwhelming, but now it feels liberating. Thailand's always been a place of acceptance, Iris replied, her tone gentle. Did you know it's one of the most LGBTQ-friendly countries in Asia? Bangkok especially. We could walk hand in hand here and no one would bat an eye. Dahlia glanced at their hands resting on the edge of the boat. Holding hands with Iris in public, a simple gesture she'd never considered stayed with her. It was a new possibility she hadn't allowed herself to explore. Do you ever think about it? Dahlia asked, her gaze turning to the water. Being with someone openly, without fear? Iris's eyes softened. All the time, but it's scary, you know? Not everyone is ready for that kind of freedom. Dahlia's heart skipped a beat at the implication. She wasn't sure if Iris was talking about herself or them, but the weight of the question hung between them, unspoken yet impossible to ignore. I'm not sure what I want, Dahlia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I've always done what's expected of me. What's safe? Iris nodded, understanding in her eyes. It's okay not to know, but maybe you should stop doing what's expected and start doing what feels right. Dahlia let out a soft laugh. You think I'm that uptight? I think you've built walls so high even you can't see over them, Iris teased, her grin wide. But I also think there's more to you than you let on. As the boat drifted lazily through the market, their hands brushed once more, lingering a little longer than before. Dahlia glanced at their hands but said nothing. Yet the thought stayed with her, quiet but persistent, and for the first time, the idea of something more profound began to take root.
Hey, Heart, before we go on with Iris and Dahlia's story, please hit like and subscribe. Thanks.